It's knowing how to sculpt the body. It's like getting a lump of clay and knowing how to sculpt that thing to make it look perfect. That's what we do with the dumbbells, the barbells, the food, all that stuff, just to create that look.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Today, we're speaking with the ex-bodyguard from Michael Jackson, Dolly Parton, Whitney Houston, and Tom Cruise. His main passion for over 40 years, however, has been transforming bodies, earning him the recognition of the Master of Body Sculpting. Schooled by the best in the business, he was introduced to the Einstein of bodybuilding, Mr. Vince Gironda, who was responsible for developing a new training philosophy for building muscle that was quickly adopted by Larry Scott, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Joe Weider. This introduction to Vince changed our guest's life and set him on a path that would establish him as one of America's highest profile personal trainers. In our interview, we discussed lessons he learned from the masters of bodybuilding, social media and its detrimental impact on realistic physiques, the training methodologies he learned from Vince Gironda, and the impact that fitness can have in changing lives for the better. So please welcome Mr. Danny Torgill to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Danny, thanks for inviting us to, we're in Self-Made facility in Temecula. This is your home base, yeah?
This is my home base. This is where I work 12 to 14 hours a day, training people every day, 5 days a week.
Right. And you've had a bit of a career. I was reading up on you, and it's over 40 years, 900 champion wins, a ton of other stuff which we're going to talk about. But I was quite curious, how do you stay motivated to do this for quite an extended period of time?
I think it's, I try to think, like people ask me that all the time, and I remember when I was a little boy, my uncle in Spain, I was raised in Spain for 13 years, and my uncles worked on a farm. My uncle with the big arms actually made shoes out of leather, so he was always punching the leather with his big old needle with a thread, and I always said, it's like, Uncle, I want big arms like you. He goes, someday, son, someday, son. But I always was infatuated by the big arms, and I thought that was Superman. That was, that was that type of look. I always had that as a catalyst to show him one day I could have those big arms. It didn't happen until 1976, 77 when I got hurt playing sports. I played football, basketball, did gymnastics, did martial arts, and I got hurt. I got hurt mid-year in 11th grade. And I said, that's it for me. I'm not going to hurt my lower back. I got clipped. I got hit from both sides. Oh. And so I went into rehab and I started lifting weights. And I started seeing my body change. And I saw the muscles, the people saying, oh my God, look at your body. Look at your body. Look at your body. And at that time I started seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in. I said, that's what a man should look like. That's what a man. And for some reason I had a personification that that's how a man should look. But it's more than that. It was self-esteem. It's like I built a level of self-esteem, unprecedented, because I didn't come from any big money in the family. It was just always me in sports or something that I had to find my escape away from the gangs, the drugs, and all that stuff. And sports always had that for me. And so passion from inside, I always loved that physical feeling on the inside. And, from there it just grew to what I'm doing now.
It's funny, similar way I started, I had my cousin, he was the same. He used to have these biceps, and I only saw him once a year at Christmas time, and I'm like, I want arms like that. And then pumping iron, I watched that, and I saw Arnold, and for whatever reason, I'm like, that's what I want to do. And before we press record, you were telling me that you was actually involved in Pumping Iron 2.
Pumping Iron 2, the movie.
How did that happen?
I was training a young lady named Chris Alexander, and we won our first championship. We won into the second one, which was an outside one in Encinitas, California. She got recognized there by Wayne DeMilia, who filmed that show. She got a call and said, hey, how would you like to do a show here in Santa Monica? We're filming it at the old World's Gym. And said, sure. We didn't know, what the heck is this thing? We show up there, and there's everybody. Samir Bannout, Gladys Porteous, Rachel McLish. And we're like going, holy wow, how did this happen? And we just filmed. We filmed there for 3 whole days. Chris was a headliner as one of the top girls already. We did the show shooting there, and then the following week we ended up in Vegas, which was the Caesar Gold Classic, I think it was called. It was Joe Weider's show. And we ended up competing in that show against the International World of Bodybuilding, and she came in 4th place. So the whole filming sequence, all the guys were in it. I did a pose down with Samir Bannout. I was 23 years old. 23 years old at the time. And I was posing in the background while they were stopping filming, and I was going, look, I only got 4 weeks to a show. 4 weeks to a show, look. And all of a sudden, I hear this, everybody get out of the way, get out of the way. What's this young? And he looks at me like this, and he goes, you look good, kid. He strips his clothes off, and he has little posing trunks, and he just won the Mr. Olympia. And he starts flexing, and everybody goes, ah. And I go, really? I said, I had everybody watching me, now they're watching you. I said, you took my life. He goes, when you look like this, young man, you know you're going to be a champion. I said, I will be there in 4 weeks. Don't you mind me? And we've ended up being friends ever since. And the whole filming and everything cast through. I got to meet Joe Weider, and Joe Weider actually handed me his card. He goes, if you ever want to be one of my champions, give me a call. Wow. So I said, I got a few more before I get to where you're at. And then I actually got invited to the Mr. Universe. But then I quit. I was like, that's it for me. I won all the divisions I wanted to, and I said, that's it. There's no more.
Right.
I want to start training people now.
So I've been fascinated. I was a junior bodybuilder. I followed all of the people of my era. I'm sort of 52, so I was kind of like in the Lee Haney type of era, and Samir Bannout, and even before that, people like Albert Beckles, and followed the Joe Weider story, and I've been putting all the pieces together. But one of the things I didn't realize, and I found this when looking into you, is there's this guy called Vince Gironda. And so I'd never heard of him, and pretty interesting story. So maybe it would be good, certainly for me and for anyone else that's listening, that is fascinating about this sort of bodybuilding history, is who was he and what did he do? What was the part that he played in that sort of early days of the bodybuilding world?
He was actually a stuntman. He was in Hollywood. He was a stuntman, and he was always fit. He had this body on him as a young man, a nice little V-tapered body, and he would always help all the movie stars, help them start getting in shape. He'd show them his little things to do, and that morphed into him opening his gym in Studio City. And so he was starting to get recognized as the guy to go to. He started getting Larry Scott, Mohammed Makaway, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everybody ended up going to him. Even Joe Weider sent his champions to Vince to train them and get them in top shape to compete under his name. So he wasn't the trainer. Vince Gironda was a trainer. So, and he's pretty much all the top guys from that era were trained by Vince Gironda. So you talk about an Einstein of bodybuilding. This guy was crazy out of belief. I mean, if you didn't do what he told you, he'd throw something at you. You did abdominals during your workout, he'd throw something at you. If you didn't listen to him, he'd throw you out of his gym. And he was a master kinesiologist, and he knew the functions of the body. He goes, you don't need heavy weight. You don't need all that crazy stuff you're doing. You just need to slow it down, engage the muscle, and work that muscle to its capacity. And I don't know if you wanted to tell me my story with Vince.
Yeah, that's what I was going to sort of lead on to. You know, what was the impact that he had on you and your training philosophy, I guess, at that young age?
Changed my whole world. You know, I'd heard about him. I'd read a little spiffs about him. I'd seen his little booklets, his little 4-page booklets, you know, for $4.95 or $3.95, whatever they were back then. And how I got to meet him was through a gentleman named Phil Tauber, who was, I didn't know at the time, was a multimillionaire real estate guy, who had walked into my gym and said, can I work out with you? You know, he was looking for a trainer, and then he ended up working out with me, and my training partner was can't remember, Pat Bulldog. And I said, well, there's no trainers here. Why don't you just work out with us? And he goes, I can't work out with you guys. Look at the size of you guys are monsters, 285, 295 pounds. I go, no, we'll strip it off. We'll help you. So as a whole week of training, he didn't say a word to us of who he was until the last day. And he says, do you mind if I showed you something? And me and my partner looked at each other like, you're going to show us something? You know, we're the young bulls here in San Diego. And he ended up kicking our butts. He said, just the bar dips, and just do it my way. And literally, I could not move for 3 days. I'm like, what is this? He goes, this comes from Vince Gironda. And I go, I know that name. He goes, I write his books, his booklets, I do his animations. My wife's related to Joe Weider. And I said, wow. He goes, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to write you a check, and I want you to go see Vince Gironda. And he hands me this check, and at that time I looked at it, I went, that's too much money. No.
What did he give you the check for?
To pay Vince.
Oh, okay.
He goes,
right.
He goes,
cool.
for allowing me to work out with you and your humbleness to work out with me, not even question my 6'3", 180-pound body, and then allowing me to show you what I have. It's like, I'm going to give something to you that's going to change your life. He goes, please go see him. So I took the check and I said, okay, and he told me it's Arnold's trainer, this and that. He told me all the accolades he did. I said, okay. So I ended up going to see Vince, and here I am, a young buck of 21 at the time. 21 years old. I walk in his door, and Vince looks at me and he goes, you look good. You look good. He goes, show me what you got. And I showed him with weight, how much I'm doing, how strong I was. He let me talk. Just do what you do. Let me see. He goes, you've done good so far. You got a great physique. And he goes, but you've been doing it all wrong. I said, what do you mean I've been doing it all wrong? He goes, you're using too much weight. Your form's way off. Your symmetry's off. He goes, let's rebuild. Let's rebuild you. He goes, you're here to see me. I'm the master. You're the student. I said, yeah, but I could bench 500 pounds. I could do this. He literally grabbed that check, threw it at my chest, says, get the hell out of my gym. Get the hell out of my gym right now. And I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. He goes, who's the master? Who's the student? He goes, I said, you're the master. I'm the student. He goes, just do what I tell you to do. 1 week of training. All the stuff I'd learned prior to, out the window. I was so sore, I couldn't scratch my head. And I'm talking about minimal weights, like 1/8 of what I've ever used. And he taught me, he goes, this is body mechanics. This is how the body actually moves. This is how you work. This is what he did. He actually grabbed the pencil, and he said, see this pencil? I want you to grab that 40-pound dumbbell. Now I want you to curl that 40-pound dumbbell like I do this pencil. I could get a better workout with this pencil than you can with that 40-pound dumbbell. And I'm going to tell you why. He goes, because I'm going to squeeze the hell out of that pencil, and I'm going to go up slow, 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 and then down, slow, and then squeeze my arm from all the way up and down. He said, so give me that 40-pound dumbbell, and I want you to do that with a pencil. After about 15 reps, I went, holy, I could feel everything firing. He goes, okay, now here's a 20-pound dumbbell, and I want you to do the same thing. He goes, it's the contraction. He goes, and the key phrase that he used that stuck with me all my life is full range of motion in the state of contraction. I said, what does that mean? He says, they always talk about full range of motion of the skeletal form, but not full range of motion of the muscular form. So this is skeletal, this is muscular. So you want to stay in that short 3/4 range so you don't pull on the tendons, ligaments, rotator cuffs, all that stuff that you'll actually hurt yourself. So lower the weight, slow it down, activate more muscle tissue. I literally grew 1 whole inch on my whole body on the first month. From that
and you
year,
were training a long time before, so it weren't like you was just starting
yeah, it was incredible jump. It was incredible how the muscle, every little individual muscle changed, because he taught me 3 sides to a muscle. Every muscle has 3 sides to it. Develop each one. Don't overtrain, don't undertrain, go right down the middle. Feed it properly and get proper rest. So talk about 44 years of Vince's training as my foundation, and that's where I've created all my champions.
So on that for a second, with that was going back some time before, the people I mentioned and some of the recent people, and it went through a phase where with I guess Dorian was the first one that kind of really took on that extreme weight, and it was followed up by people like Coleman, etc. But so what you're saying makes a lot of sense, particularly now at my age, and the more I've learnt about it, and if you look at a lot of the research now, that is obviously a safer and more effective way of doing it. So two questions. One is, how do you think he sort of came up with that before everybody else had sort of gone through different stages and now actually realized 20, 30 years later, or 40 years later, this is a better way of doing it? And then secondly, Why do you think that that some of those ideas didn't stick through the phase where people just lifted ridiculous amount of weight and created all these injuries as a result of that?
I think it's like anything else. People always want to find a better way, a new way, somehow to do it. Everybody that I've taken in, I don't care who it is, Olympic athletes, I've trained Olympic athletes, PD Devers, Gail Devers from gold medalist, NFL, San Diego Chargers. Right now we're currently training New York Giants, Denver Broncos, and Seattle Seahawks players, brand new, they're just playing right now. And they're coming in and they're like going, we've never felt anything like this. What is this? And it's because it's lighter weight. The egos are put away. It's not about heavy weight. And I tell them, I said, don't worry about the heavy weight. And that's one thing I learned back then with Vince is don't worry about the heavy weight. In time, you will be doing that heavy weight, but 20 times. Not once or twice, 20 times. So when I take people through now and they come in and said, I'm in great shape, I could do this, you know, it's like, come on, old man, I'm 62 years old. And most people can't hold a candle to me in the gym. They're like, I can't do this. I'm going to throw up. I'm going to pass out. What is this? What is this type of training? And I always go, Vince taught me this, and I've formulated my own composition of this based on what he's done, but never going away from it. And it was that fundamental knowledge that he gave me that it's based on contraction, not weight. You can make a 20-pound dumbbell feel like a 50-pound dumbbell just on slow motion contraction. Even Mike Messer and Ray Messer learned that with the guy that invited Arthur Jones with the Polaris equipment. Slow and then slow. One set of chest press, one set of this, one set of that. Walk out the 20 minutes, that's your workout. So now it's ego. Now people are egotistical where they want, I bench 500 pounds. I go, that's great. Are you a power lifter or a bodybuilder? Are you a bodybuilder or are you a body sculptor? Vince always said, you're not even a bodybuilder, Danny, you're a body sculptor. You're sculpting bodies. You're sculpting your own body. Now you're going to go out and sculpt other people's bodies. So ego aside, it's hard to get men away from that heavy weight thing. They think heavy weight is bigger muscles.
It's like you say, it's particularly when you're younger. It's like how many plates have you got on? That's the conversation, isn't it? It's like, well, how many plates have you got on there?
Oh yeah.
But when like me, you know, I've done quite a bit of damage to my back and knees over the years by doing stupid stuff when I was in my teens and early 20s. And I suppose now you realize that you really pay a price for that kind of stuff. Yeah. Which isn't good. So one of the things that when I read up about Vince, he quoted that it was building a great body is 85% nutrition. So I guess it's the other sort of 15% is training. Is that sort of?
It's pretty darn close. He was a man. Like I said, he's an Einstein. It's just like anybody else. It's like this guy with Tesla. He comes out of nowhere, and now he's a multi-billionaire, and he knows he's got all this technology. Somehow he figured this out. Something was implanted in him that he loved the body so much. He actually went into autopsies and looked at cadavers and looked at the muscles. And he says, I literally looked at the muscles, pulled the skin back, looking at where the insertion points were. He goes, and then that's what interested me in kinesiology. It's like how the body works in conjunction to exercise and not to work against the body, but work with it, like a gymnast does, like a dancer does. So he goes, you look at a dancer, you look at a gymnast, look at their bodies. They don't even use weight, they use their body weight. Yeah. Look how beautiful their bodies are. He goes, so now, fundamentally, that's what we do. We use these weights as tools, as sculpting tools, to sculpt our bodies. So we're actually looking at individual muscles, and we're creating each individual muscle to come out to give them that three-dimensional look and have symmetry. He was all about symmetry. No steroids, no this, no that, no bulk, symmetry. He goes, on stage, when they look at you you're not going to go, look at the size of his arms. They're going to go, wow, look at that physique. Look at the size of his legs. No, look at him overall. He's like a Greek statue. So that was his thing, and he got in my head. I go, oh, it's not about size. He goes, no, because you look different on stage than you do here. You look way bigger on stage because of the lighting, the cuts, the definition, everything, and it creates that illusion.
Yeah. Thank you for supporting the Escape Your Limits podcast. If you're thinking about creating a unique and engaging fitness space to take your fitness to the next level, then we have you covered. Escape Fitness design and manufacture some of the most innovative, attractive, and durable functional training and free weight equipment used by many of the best trainers and fitness brands across the globe. As a valued listener, we are offering you a 10% discount off many of the products on our website. You can check out the full range by going to escapefitness.com and use the code DUMBBELL. That's escapefitness.com using the code DUMBBELL. That's it for me. Please enjoy the rest of this interview.
Yeah, so you've heard it. Yeah,
Well, I interviewed Frank Zane, and he's a really small guy. When I first met him, I was surprised how small of a frame he was.
Oh yeah.
Even though he had some nice muscle, and he was the same about photos and angles and this, as he said, this illusion that you're, which is nice. I know not everybody wants to just do that. It's not about staying on stage being a bodybuilder, but I suppose a lot of people, they want to look great in clothes. And at any age, it's like, look, I feel good about myself if I feel I look good. And whether you're a celebrity walking on the red carpet or whether you're just a regular guy or girl, there is something about if you've got a nice shape, you feel better about yourself, whatever that shape is.
Right.
What do you feel about people when they come to you? Because genetics, even in bodybuilding, I realized that relatively young that no matter what you do and what people take, if you've not got the genetics and the long muscles and the deep muscle bellies, etc., that no matter what you do, you can't change that. And so you either got the genetics to make it or not. And if you take that down to the regular person on the street that maybe wants to have a particular type of shape or bum or legs or whatever, but they've got a slightly different genetic, how do you work with your clients so they kind of, one, that they're not going to be under the illusion that they can look like something that they're not.
No.
And two, how do you work with them to sort of enhance what they've got? Because I guess we all look at pictures. I've done it when I was younger, and it's like I want to look like that, and you try everything to look like that, but you just don't have the frame to do it. What do you do in those situations?
That's the one thing I tell people when they first come to me, and I look at them and I said, look, I know you look at this person and this person. Even looking at my bikini champions that I have, you're never going to look like Nicole. You're never going to look like Tanya. You're never going to look like Carrie. That's their genetic makeup. This girl has incredible much abundance of muscle tissue in her glutes. Grew like that. The other girl works so hard and it grows micro small. I've got two guys right now. They work out just as hard as I do and everybody else, but their arms are falling behind. We all have 28 plus inch arms and they're at 17, 18. They're going, why? I go, because there's more muscle tissue in certain areas. You could have 20,000 fibers in your arms. I have 40,000. I said, and you have to actually go in and have some kind of a thing done to find that out, biopsies or something, how they do that. But I've noticed it because my arms grew to 23 inches without any cause. I mean, my back, what they called me Latzilla, and my legs grew huge. But I always had a problem with my shoulders.
Right.
They wouldn't get that big bulbous basketball look. But I learned how to structure my body to look that. I learned how to pose my body to hide those little things. So I overdeveloped my traps and I overdeveloped my upper chest to make my shoulders look bigger. My arms are bigger, and then the brachialis, I grew bigger here. So, and then when I posed it, I would hide those parts of my body that weren't up to par. And I'd always look at the other competitor going, what does he have? I don't. I know I have this, this, and this. He has that. So when he poses that, I pose this. I know the body parts I have that are stronger. But, and your question is, you can't really do anything special other than chemically. What guys are doing with all the chemicals now, and it's just like crazy.
And the implants as well now.
The implants and the synthol oils and all that stuff, that you're blowing these bodies up. But to me, I don't like that. I don't even like what Mr. Olympias are looking like right now. I like the era of Arnold and Frank Zane and Mohammed Makwe. I got to work out with Albert Beckles. You said his name. I actually got to work out with him and Chris Alexander together in San Diego, and Robbie Robinson. And aesthetically small, but you got a 28, 29-inch waist with a back like this. It looks huge. So I have a thick waist. I never got lower than like a 33, 34 waist, but my chest was 58, 59, 60 with my back. So it gave the illusion of a small waist, and I'd always turn more to the side. So it's knowing how to sculpt the body. It's like getting a lump of clay and knowing how to sculpt that thing to make it look perfect. That's what we do with the dumbbells, the barbells, the food, all that stuff, just to create that look.
Right.
And it's a manipulation of food, fats, carbohydrates, everything, and then also how to work those individual little muscle groups to make them pop for what you want to look, whether it be in clothes, in a bathing suit, or on stage.
And is it important to kind of manage those expectations when you go into it?
Yeah, we always have to, because people come in with that illusion, and I always tell them, you are going to be the best you're ever going to be able to look. Your personal perfection is how I put it. I'm going to create that personal perfection in you. And so we measure them all up, we do all the scans that we need to do, and we show them, on measurements, how they're shrinking here and how they're growing here, and they're happy with that. And they're more happy. It's amazing with fitness. It's not about bodybuilding. It's not about how big your arms are. It's this and this. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what happens to people. And that's, if I talk about it too much, I'll get into a state of emotion, because I've helped so many people with addictions, with such overweight that they're pretty much ready to go and die from what the doctor had told me. But when someone loses 187 pounds, they're off all medications, and now they're running a gym and changing people's lives. When you have people with addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whether it's abuse, it's amazing how I can reinforce them and show them that they matter, that there's a purpose, that we're here on this earth, and that if I could help you show that you're worth something, that you matter on this earth, and I could show you that you have a personal strength, and I could help you, and then a camaraderie that we have. And that's what basically we have here, and that's why you see family. I've cultivated that family feeling, because I come from a very small family. So what I do is just like, man, you look good. And even the other trainers, man, your client looks awesome. I notice, you've lost some weight, or your arms are bigger, or your glutes are bigger, whatever it is. The self-esteem, the self-assurance, that's really what I think has even coupled me. When you asked me earlier, what is it that has driven that passion? It's that people going, wow, you look good. And I go, oh yeah, I train hard. I never let it get to my head. I was always on the humble side. I said, I really appreciate that. And it's like I work hard every day, and I was that little fat kid, in Spain eating all the churros and hot chocolate. But now I had a fit body that I got recognized for. And I played all the sports. I excelled in all sports. And I said, man, this is due to fitness. I stayed out of drugs because of fitness. I played better in sports because of fitness. So that is entwined in my brain. I'm wired that way, where I could get people that are having situations that I go, come to fitness, it'll change your life. It will change your life.
One of the statements I read, and I was interested in it, is Vince talked about these 36 fertile eggs is the equivalent to Dynamo.
Yeah.
Is there any truth in that? Or because I remember, again, when I was a teenager, this thing was going around, and I had a friend who was a farmer, and every day I'd have 6 eggs, raw eggs, and a protein shake with some milk and protein powders, and like it put on a ton of weight. I don't know whether it's any good for me or not. Mm-hmm. But is there any? Is that something that you get people to do, or is it?
I actually still have some people. I have a young man down right now who is one of my trainers, and he said, Coach, I can't get big. He goes, what do? I said, well, I'll tell you what, Vince's nutrition, I don't know where he came up with this, but his steak and egg diet.
Steak and eggs.
Yeah, steak and egg diet, 3 times a day, and drinking raw fertile eggs, but don't blend it, just stir it with a fork. And it's and believe me, he had me eating or drinking 36 eggs a day. Until this, it took me.
Is that healthy for you, do you think?
It's actually very healthy for you, because if you don't have high cholesterol, it's the best. That's good cholesterol in an egg. It's the most perfect protein is an egg. So basically, you could eat eggs all day long for your meals, and you'd be healthier than anybody eating steak, chicken, and everything with all the antibiotics and everything in it. But that was his statement. This is better than any steroid on the planet, because it's keeps you from going into a catabolic shock. Your body eating itself. It's pure protein going in a state raw. It's not cooked, so your body's going to utilize it. So does it taste nasty? Yeah, like a snail going down your throat. And I gagged all the time doing it, but I did it. And I contributed that to my growth, and until I started hard boiling my eggs, I go, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Have you added anything to Vince's ideas over the years?
I've compounded exercise. I've added more repetitions because my take from what he taught me is minimal rest periods. Hitting the muscle, not over pumping. So he called it overtonedness. So don't go too far. Don't overtrain. Don't undertrain. Go right in the middle. But you have to hit that muscle with intensity, and that 50 in an hour. You got 45 to 50 minutes of true energy from ATP, the buildup of the energy in your muscles. So if you're in there hitting 3 exercises in an hour, I want you to go to 4. I want you to go to 5. I want you to go to 6. Get 9 exercises in an hour. Minimal rest time. So minimal rest time, but massive intensity. And I went, okay, how about I alter that? And I go, how about 20 reps on everything? He was a 10 by 10s, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, 15, 12, 10, 8, back to 15 again. But his thing was, you don't let go of the bar. You do a bench press, you do 15, you hold on, and then 20 seconds later, you do again and again. So 10 sets of 10 without ever letting go of that bar, which is murder, and most people don't have the patience for that. But what I did is I came up with something which was 20 rep. And he has it too. And Arnold did it. Actually, him and Franco Colombo would actually do 20 reps, 30 reps of everything. And they would go out into the forest and do squats until they passed out. And they would get this massive muscle growth spurt. So I started implementing 20 reps, 20 reps, 20 reps. And I'm talking about start with 135, go to 225, 20. Go to 315, 20. Go to 350, 20. And so it took time.
And how many sets were you doing then?
5 to 6 sets.
So you'd halve the amount of sets. Since he was doing 10 and 10, you were doing like 20 and 5 then, is that? So you still had the same amount of volume. Okay.
Same set. But what I learned through the body is the body adapts to everything. It'll adapt just like a woman having a baby or a guy digging a trench or whatever it is, the body will adapt. The brain wants to shut you down. So stop. And it's like, I noticed like everybody that comes in new that used to doing 8, 10, 12s, I said, we do 20s here. And they go, what? Oh, I can do that. They hit their first 20, all of a sudden the gorging of the blood, they're like, oh my God. And then I put a 25 on. So 135, put 20, and then I said 20. And they go, what? And they last about 3 sets. And all of a sudden they lock up. They're like going, what the hell is this? And they're pumped to like a balloon. I said, this will take you about 3-4 weeks to get used to. But once you get used to it, you'll never go back. And this incredible pump and incredible size. And if you see all my people and my girls, they're going, how? Even judges go, how do you change these people's bodies so fast? I go, it's my 20 rep system. How does it work? I go, come talk to me. Come work out with me. I have to show you.
Do you stick, when you said that the body gets used to it then, do you alternate from high rep to low rep, or do you kind of like pretty much stick in that 20 rep?
Oh no, I'll alternate because the body does adapt. So I'll say, okay, today we're doing 15, 12, 10s, or we're doing nothing but 10s, but we go right back to the 20.
But they're all higher than, because I'm again going back to my days, it was sort of, it was, the 8 seemed to be the sweet spot, and I still have that in my head now, but it was kind of between 6 and 10. That was, but yours sort of 10 plus.
10 plus.
Okay.
10 plus.
Interesting.
But I changed, the funny thing is, it's and this is one of Vince's things, you don't change the structure of what you're doing as far as a workout. It's the same exercises. But say you start at bench press and you end with dumbbell flies. How about you start with dumbbell flies and end with bench press? How about you start with incline, go flies, and here? How about, so it's the same exercises, but you just manipulate the sequence.
And is that because, so I suppose you would, thinking about it in a way, like if you're lifting weight, then I suppose you probably would start with maybe like a bench press, for example. Mm-hmm. But is it because when you're doing this sculpting program, it's not about weight, it's about the result. So whatever you put first, it's not important. Is that, would you say? Or are there certain things that you would always want to start and finish with?
It depends on.
That's a complicated question.
Well, it depends. If you come in and I see you have strong lower pecs and no upper pecs, I said we're starting with incline because I want more of your strength up there. If there's no overall chest growth, I would start with dumbbell flies because the fly work is actually pec work. Press work, Vince wouldn't let us do a bench press. He wouldn't make us bench the neck. That's what was his bench press. And even his inclines were up here. So he called it the neck press. So he goes, if I ever see you do a bench press, I will throw a 45-pound plate at you. So it was literally up here and this distance from your, and you would just bench right there. It would just stay up on that high end. And the pec pump is incredible because it actually pulls on your whole pec. He goes, that's a pec building exercise. Bench press is a powerlifting, 1 rep, here you go, I just bench 500 pounds. You're working more shoulders, triceps, and that's just a push out. So you see people just doing bench press, they got poor pecs. You know, they might have some big triceps and front shoulders, but no pec development.
I had a guy I used to train with, he was older years ago, and he made a bar. I think there's versions of it nowadays again, but this is going back like 30 years, but it was like a straight bar, and then it kind of had this probably 4-inch drop.
Yep.
And it was always weird because it used to move a little bit, but you would kind of like drop it right down, and he used to swear by it. He had a huge chest.
Yeah.
But is that the same idea that you're kind of wanting to stretch the full pec? Then is that
you want to stretch the whole pec, but you want to keep it again full range of motion in a state of contraction. So you manipulate your body. So instead of laying flat on a bench press, you arch your back, and so I could literally put my whole arm underneath your lower back. You should rotate your whole cage up so your pecs are up. Because if you're down like this, all the pressure goes here and on your triceps, and that's not where you want it. You want to actually rotate and push your chest up in the air, so now your chest is exposed to the actual weight. So now when you have the bar up here and you're pushing out, your pecs are already ignited, but now you're putting more pressure on it with a weight. And it's the same thing with anything with chest. You've got to rotate your rib cage and have a nice arch underneath yourself so that you're actually pushing the pecs up in the air. And that's what Vince goes. He goes, everything is how you put your body, the placement, the hands, everything. It has a certain thing to do. It's just like doing a push-up. When you drop into a push-up, your body naturally goes into that realm. You know how you do a push. When you do a pull-up, everything tightens up to do a pull-up. He goes, now don't use the machine. You do the exercise. You set your body in that motion. What am I working? So I could ask anybody, what are you working? I said, I'm working that. I said, no, you're not. You're working your front delts and your tricep. No, I'm working out. I said, no. Now let me manipulate your body. They go, oh my, and now they'll feel it. It's the same with biceps, triceps, anything. It's how you put your elbows, where you put your hands. Everything has a function, and you could tell is just moving your hands out or inwards, that you feel in a different part of your bicep. You feel a different part of your quads when you do leg extension. You push your feet out, forward or inwards. It rotates the muscles. So everything, that's how we're built. It's kind of like a car with multi-drive and all the wheels go. That's how we manipulate our body and how it works the muscle.
Okay. What's the difference between the motivation and the training philosophies between men and women?
With men, they just want to get big. Men, huge. I want to be a Goliath. That's their motivation. They see the big guys on screen. They said, I want the huge shoulders. I want the big arms. I want to look like whoever the new person is. Women, I just want to look sexy. I just want to have a firm body, shoulders, a nice round glutes, shapely legs. It's more of how society is taught that a woman should look. But when they come to me, I said, look, if you could just look the best you can look. I said, show me a body you really like. I said, that's possible, but you're going to have a bigger glutes. You have short legs, so I have to not put you on certain exercises, because if your legs get big, you're going to look like a fire hydrant. So I have to elongate your legs by shaving off some of your glutes and reshaping, putting your glutes higher up on your back, but not being so big. And I got some with some huge glutes, and I go, we need to shave those down. So plyometrics, run, sprint. So motivation is how they're seen by their peers, by the men, their husband or whatever they're doing, the work that they're doing. It's dependent on that. But I try to change that when they come in. I go, this is about you. It's not about them. Guys, it's not about this and that. I said, you're going to hurt yourself. Don't try to look like that. These guys are taking massive amount of drugs. They're just doing it for that trophy or for their sponsorships. I go, and believe me, I've been doing this 44 years. I've never made a dime on bodybuilding. I've made it on training. I've made it on endorsements. I made it on little spots on TV or little commercials. I said, that's where I've made my money. But that little plastic trophy, you know, look the best you could look. Healthy and live. I said, I'm 62. Never an injury. Other than falling off my roof trying to repair a roof tile. I go, and then I hurt a little tear. I said, but bodybuilding's never hurt me because I stayed within the boundaries of what Vince told me. He goes, it's not about the weight. It's about how you do it. It's about how you do it. It's about how you do it. He goes, and it'll come, and be patient. Be patient.
Have you seen the fashion change? Because my sort of view on it, now looking at Instagram, which wasn't around many years ago, is you kind of got this Kardashian look, and even my wife talks about it. It's about the big butt, which I think years ago, probably when I was 20 or something, it was totally the opposite. People didn't want; they were afraid if they had a big butt. And so, do you see these kind of people coming to you with these different trends where they want to accentuate different things that probably they didn't used to?
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's the glutes. The Kardashians started it. I don't think it was before then because I'm 10 years older than you. It was small, tight, little bottom, you know. But now all of a sudden it's these big things. And I had one girl come to me, and she was 5'0", maybe 4'9", and she walks in. She goes, "Yeah, I had glute surgery, and now I got to make the rest of my body match up." And I go, "What did you do?" She goes, "Oh, I had injections in my glutes." This girl walked in, and she had the Kardashian. Her legs were this long, and her booty stuck that far out from her back. And they're the biggest things you ever seen in your life. And they did a great job because they're perfectly rounded, but it looked like a cartoon, like someone just put two basketballs right there. And I'm going, "Why did you do that?" She goes, "I don't know. I felt bad. I didn't have anything, so I had those on." I said, "Well, I'm going to strip it off because, you know, fat is the source of energy that I use, and, you know, carbohydrates for your energy, but they're going to use those butt cheeks for energy." But it's amazing how many come in for that. I said, "That's not very attractive." I said, "Why do you want that big glutes like that?" I said, I'll build glutes on you, but it's going to look really good on you." So I said, the fallacy of it, I said, those girls are posing a certain way to make it look even bigger. They're posing it a certain way. They're wearing certain things to make it look like that. I said, now the Kardashian, have you ever seen them in person? It's not a pretty sight. Skinny little legs with these big basketballs. It's not pretty. You know, so I tend to want to change their thinking, and I do normally because I go, "Do you think that's attractive? Do you think that's attractive?" And they go, "No, absolutely not." I go, "Get it out of your head. That's the media. That's them just trying to sell a product."
There must be a lot of psychology, I guess, particularly with young people. I've got a young daughter, and for me, it's trying to sort of steer them in the right direction. So because you are very influenced about what you see on social media and TV, movies, and all those kind of things. And I guess if people really want that and feel as though they're less than because they don't have it, you can, and the same for guys, you know, they want to have this body and they think that's possible, and they're taking all kinds of crazy stuff to get something that's probably not going to get them to what they want to do, and it's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, you know what, and I'm going to change a little bit of thought pattern. I said, I think that's where I thought here and here is if you really tap into, you know, being someone in fitness, which I could tell you're in fitness. If you have a built-up self-esteem, if you are self-assured of yourself, you're not going to look to that and go, "Guys are going to like me better." You know, for the women, guys are going to like me better if I have these big puffy fish lips and a big butt. You know, and that's what or these big eyelashes. And it really stems from, I think, self-esteem issues. So if you reinforce that with accolades of, you should see guys, they actually break down when they say, "Man, I'm proud of you." And these big guys that are ex-Marines start crying, the tears in their eyes. They go, "Nobody's ever told me they're proud of me. My father never told me that. My mother never told me that. Nobody's ever told me they're proud of me." So my guys and girls, I say, "I am so proud of you." You know, it's like, and they call me Papa Bear here. So I'm like a dad. I'm like an uncle. Just like if you read my jacket, it's counselor, teacher, photographer, coach, trainer. You know, it's like, you end up having a lot of titles, if you truly know what you're doing, because it really is, you're counseling. It's because food addictions, this. I mean, the list goes deep. People that come into the training, they go, it's not working for me. I can't hear all this stuff. I can't hear all these stories. I can't hear all this stuff. I said, that's what you have to deal with. It's not just sets and reps. If you truly want to change that person's life, you got to find out what's ticking in there. You have to find out what made them eat all that food to get that 40, 60, 100 pounds on them. What's making them not work out? What's making them drink so much? What's making them want to interact with those people over there and to follow that crowd? I tend to pull them all in and have every Sunday a gathering at IHOP or one of the local restaurants. I said, everybody come. 28, 30 people. When we invade restaurants around, and we sit and we talk and listen to everybody's situations. The girls will go with the girls, the girls, then we'll mix back up. And we kind of fix what's going on in here with a camaraderie. And they go, you and your wife have just changed our lives. It's like, because of you, I've lost this 100 pounds. Because of you and what you said, like, you're proud of me, and wow, look at you. Look at the change. Let me help you. Come to our house, have a cup of coffee, talk, whatever it is. It's that self-esteem. And I think it's missing so much because social media is shutting down that relationship with people because they're just behind a screen. They're not actually doing this. This is uncomfortable for a lot of people. So uncomfortable they don't know what to do. So.
Frank Zane told me once that, and he said, I think he said someone told him as well, that a lot of the successful bodybuilders, you can trace it back, and they've all had some kind of issue with their father, and that the bodybuilding is this kind of armor that they create on themselves. And I think he said, he gave a list of names, like Arnold had it, and there was, including him, it relates to this sort of thing, something to do with your parents, particularly your father.
Yes, it's a reinforcement of, if your dad, my father was an alcoholic, he was at all the wars, I never saw him, and pretty much left us in Spain for fend for ourselves. And luckily, we had our uncles and everybody. So I looked to my uncles for that father figure. And when I saw the arms, not only on him, but on Damien too, who was 6'1" and big guy, I'm like going, because my dad was small, he was 5'9", 5'10", probably 175 pounds. Here's 200 pound plus with big arms. And so I'm like going, wow. But not only that, look how much his wife loves him. Look at the camaraderie, look at the seating, look at how everything is like this. So it's influence. A lot of it's influence and what you were raised with, you know, and it's a suit of armor. It's like putting on that football uniform with those big shoulders. All of a sudden you feel invincible. You know, when you work out with those weights and all that, I have to go, stay humble, guys. You're going to get all this muscle, you're going to get all this attention. Stay humble, because you don't want to get that ego, that narcissistic ego that is not very attractive.
Well, you lose yourself as well, I guess.
You lose yourself, yeah.
With we can both speak about this now because we're sort of in a different stage of your life. But I'm interested from your perspective, like training and creating a body in your 20s and 30s. How does that change in your 40s, 50s, 60s?
Recuperation time. Losing your hair at 45. You know, see, that was a self-esteem issue I had too. I was wearing hats all the time, and I shaved my hair lower and lower as it got thinner and thinner up here. But working out, it's you stay sore longer. You don't grow as fast. Your body fat doesn't come off as quickly, you know. But the one thing I do, and I could tell you this for a fact that nobody else does in the industry, unless you're seasoned and you're really looking to give this person the benefit of your expertise, is when a person comes in, I ask them all the pertinent questions. You know, what have you ever been injured? What medications are you on? Anything I need to know about that's going to slow you down or slow me down, or that I'm going to find out at the wrong time, that when you have a heart attack, you know, in the middle of the floor. How are your hormone levels? When's the last time you got a full blood panel? So those are all the things before they even work out with me. I said, I want to see a full blood panel. I want to see where your hormone levels are, your thyroid, your everything that's going on in your body, because it's an uphill battle after 35 now. There's even 17-year-olds that their testosterone is down in the toilet, and I mean down to 200, 178, and they have to go on hormone therapy. So these people come in, whether they're women on menopause, like my wife, when I met her, she was fighting menopause. She had got in a car accident where she T-boned 3 times by other cars, and her head hit, and it messed up her trigeminal nerve, which is called the suicide disease, where it's so painful that when it hits you, you just want to curl up in a ball. And I've seen her do it a few times, but it only is activated when she's under stress. So since she's been married with me, I keep her under no stress, you know. But she was fighting menopause, and when I met her, she was 38 pounds overweight, and she couldn't get it off. And she goes, and a friend of hers said, "You need to go talk to Danny." And the first thing I saw when I saw her, I looked at her and I go, "How old are you?" She goes, 53. "How are your hormone levels?" "I don't know." She went in and the doctor goes, "How are you even surviving? How are you even surviving? You're working for FedEx, you're running all these boxes around. You know, your hormones are down so far that you should be sitting at home watching TV." And so they regulated her hormones, and within 3.5, 4 months, I had her on stage, and she won her first championship. I stripped 38 pounds off of her, and it came off fast after the hormones. But I found out everything about her trigeminal, her blood work, you know, anything she was on. I don't care if it's aspirin. You've got to tell me what's going on and what you're doing, what you're eating, what kind of work you're doing. So if you're a postman, you're out walking all day, I need to give you a little bit more food. You know, I'm not going to starve you. You're going to actually eat more than you've ever eaten before and be healthy going on stage. It's a plastic trophy. I don't want you to starve to death for a plastic trophy. I want you to feel good on stage and go, wow, you know, this is awesome. And they continue to compete because now that's a goal. And it doesn't matter for them that they're a pro or this or that. They go, it's just a goal for me to keep going and just look better.
What are your thoughts on testosterone replacement as you get older? Do you believe in it? Is there pros and cons that people need to consider around that?
Most definite. I don't care what anybody says. I work with one of the top hormone doctors, actually 2 here in Temecula, and I actually worked with another one in San Diego. When he actually saw me in the gym, he knew me when I was a champion. He knew me when I was in my 20s and 30s, and he saw me walk in the gym, and I'm working out, and I'm still big. I've always never been below 230. I'm 250 right now, and he's like, "Hey Dan," he goes, "I see you working." He goes, "There's something going on in your body," and this guy is a doctor right down the street. He says, "Come in, let me do blood work." He goes, "I could tell. I've been watching you work out for 2 months, and I could tell by the texture of your skin and the way you're like, something's not right with your body." And I go, "What?" I said, "I eat, I sleep." I said, I'm fine. This is what I've been doing all my life." He goes, "No, let me just come in on me. Just let me do your blood work. I've known you for a long time." I go in, my testosterone's at 178. And that was the only thing wrong. He goes, "You need to up your vitamins here and here." He goes, "But your testosterone's so low." He goes, "You know, you're like an 80-year-old man. You know, you need to get on testosterone therapy." I said, "Well, how do I do, you know, what is that? Is that something different than the testosterone that the guys are taking?" I did take testosterone when I was young for bodybuilding. I go, "But is this different, this therapy?" And he said, "Yes." He goes, it's the same testosterone, but I regulate it. You come in and I give you a shot. And within 6 weeks, my body is starting to change. I started feeling more focused. I feel more alert. And he said, "The one thing that doctors will never tell you is that your hormone levels are off bat, because it's a sick industry. The health industry will tell you, someone that knows hormones is going to tell you, your hormones, Danny, even at 62 should be 900, 1,000. And they kept on pushing mine up. I'm at 1180 right now. He goes, "As long as your estrogen doesn't spill over, that's your capacity. So we'll keep you between 900 and 1100, whether it be the pellets with the yam-based pellets or testosterone shots." So now all my people that come in, including my wife, who's on the pellets now, she gets 4 months of the pellets sitting in her butt cheeks for 4 months, and they dissipate. She's in perfect, at 56. You should see her. She looks like a 20-year-old. Her body is like rock solid, and no problems, no health problems whatsoever.
What about the sort of adverse effects? I know when I've spoke to a few people in the past, for men, there's a fine balance between, you know, high and low testosterone,
yes.
And some of it can lead, particularly things like prostate cancer.
Yes.
If you have too much of it, that kind of brings it on. So what are your thoughts from that respect?
When you get your full blood panel, these doctors really look for that and look at your history. They go, "Have you ever had cancer in your family? yes, okay, we need to do some more tests to figure out, see if you have anything in your body that's that. And if it is, we'll go with a yam-based product that doesn't spike and all that. But they do it at such low levels. It's such a low level. It's not like bodybuilders. You know, they say take half a cc and they're taking 4. This is just to bump that up to a level where you feel normal. And all the people I send, which is about 50, 60 people so far since I've been here in Temecula, all of a sudden these are CEOs of big $25 million companies. That's my training partner. He owns a big $25 million company. He's like, man, I'm just tired. I can't focus. I have no focus. My energy just drops at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. He goes, what's wrong? I go, your hormones. He goes, it's exactly what the doctor told me. If you have those, he went and tested. He was at 248. Now he's at 900. Now he works like 12, 14 hours a day. He went from actually $7 million to $27 million company. And he goes, he's like this all the time now. He goes, man, I feel good. I sleep good. But the doctor's got him a regiment. And you just get what you get to make sure that you stay at that level. The things that you hear on the industry, like Dr. Marquette does and the people at the lab at Temecula, they'll tell you, these people that come in here, these bodybuilders, they're at 3,000, 4,000 in testosterone. And I tell them, I said, you know, you're going to scar your arteries, you're going to have a heart attack, you're going to get stents in your neck, you're not going to live another 9 months because of what I'm looking at on this blood panel. So if you stay like this, it's long term, it's for life. It's just like women taking estrogen. You know?
So if you are like, so for me, I've not done it, and but I just it's talked about, and it's becoming more of a popular thing, particularly in America now. There's actually places like you say where you go and do this. How do you know when you should consider it? Because I suppose for me, I feel great. I don't have any issues as far as I know in my sort of from the libido side of things. And I've got energy. So on that side of things, is it like, look, unless you feel there's something actually wrong with you, you don't even need to look it out?
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's good to see where you're at.
So getting the blood
just to see, because Dr. Marquette told me, she goes, when she was a surgeon, she goes, the one thing she noticed all the time was these low hormone levels with people having heart attacks over and over and over again. She'd get the surgery to give them a new heart, give them all this, like, and they 3, 6 months, 9 months later, they'd be dead. She goes, the one determining factor she saw all the time was super low hormone levels. So she started a side practice going, let's up these people's hormone levels and see what happens. All of a sudden, wow, these people are healthy and they end up living 10, 20 years more. You know, kids and men that were a little psychotic or a little indifferent on stuff or didn't know if they're a man or a woman, it's because their hormone levels are, she goes, I bet you I could go to a psychiatric hospital right now, test everybody's hormone levels, I bet you they're down in the bucket. She goes, because it drives you nuts. You know, people actually go bonkers. Men get super emotional. Women, you know, just
it's interesting.
And so when you really look at it, it's like hormones is what a catalyst in our body that functions everything with a growth hormone and everything in our body. And she said, you're actually getting eaten by the inside out by your hormone levels being so down, because it's trying to do what it's supposed to do, like revitalize muscle, repair muscle, do all that stuff. It's all hormones. So if
I suppose food and the environment as well can affect that. Like I know in terms of, I think it's estrogen and things like that, like that make men very emotional if they've got too much of that in their system. And I guess from what I've heard, a lot of the chemicals and things in the environment are changing us.
Well, not only that, you look at a cow now, and it's what they say they got. I don't know how many injections of antibiotics and all that stuff, and they got a piece of meat with all the injections in it. But they said because of the breakdown of our foods, the antibiotics, all the chemicals, the soil not being enriched like it's supposed to be, what they do to chicken, the putting them in a coop and making them eat corn all the time. They say our food industry is so bad that we have to take nutritional supplements. We have to take vitamins. We have to do all this to supplement our body, but we also have to detox our body and get it out. I have all of our people do magnesium citrate flush.
What's that?
It's magnesium citrate. It's just a small little 6-ounce bottle you get at CVS for $1.99, $99 at Walmart, and you drink it down, and it's like the weaker liquid than the stuff you put when they do the colonoscopy, and what it does, it just flushes your whole internal system out. And the first time
be kind of hanging around the bathroom.
You got to stay by the bathroom, and some people 4, 6, 7 hours, because it depends on how much buildup is in their body. I had one gentleman, was 68 years old, belly out to here. And you touch his belly and it's as hard as a rock. And I go, you're full of shit. He goes, what? You're full. Don't tell me I'm full of shit. I said, no, you're literally full of crap. Just food and gup and goop. And he goes, how do you know that? I go, I said, your abs are not right there. Your abs are way down inside there. I said, this is inflammation. This is your body pushing out gas and everything else. And he says, give me a bottle of that. I didn't see him for 4 days. He pooped out 11.5 pounds of matter that came out of his backside. He did it another 2 months later. He lost another 10.5 pounds. His stomach went completely flat. It's like roto-rooter, or it's a pipe that breaks. It just keeps pushing because it's elastic, our intestines. It kept on building up, pushing out. And he had such a buildup that his food, even going through his intestines, couldn't permeate through and feed the body. He was getting little tricklets of it. So we removed all that sludge out, and he ended up 22 pounds. His skin changed, all the ashy got clear, his eyes got whiter. And so I asked the doctor, I go, this stuff really works. I go, I know. I said, why don't doctors tell you? Because they're not in the health industry. They'd rather give you a pill, a potion, or a lotion, instead of saying, clean your body out. Get a colonoscopy or what do they think when they clean you out from the back?
Colonic, yeah.
Colonics.
Yeah.
You got to do all that to clean, because we're pipes. We're 37 feet or whatever it is of intestines, and food's been going through there and leaving deposit, grease. Taco Bell, McDonald's, this and that, and it just builds up in the system. Even Elvis Presley had 50 pounds of undigested meat in his bowels when they opened them up. So talk about having to clean yourself out. Health isn't from the inside out. It truly is. We just sculpt the outside to look pretty, but that inside's better be, looking good too.
Yeah. And I get so in terms of the age thing, then I suppose everything that you spoke about kind of is further impacted as you get older, because you're building up a lot of this over time. Yeah.
Well, Hollywood. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Hollywood. I worked with a lot of people in Hollywood. They're going to their doctors for the past 20 years, getting 35 years, getting HGH treatments, which improves the skin, the tendons, the ligaments, increases muscle mass, burns fat, and makes you look younger. So I'm like going, why are they doing it and they're not telling us about it? Well, because they're paying $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a treatment, and they could afford it, but it's kind of a little secret society keeping them looking young. So it's behind the scenes, but people never know it. But it truly is hormones. If you don't have them balanced, you're never going to be where you want to be.
Okay. So what advice would you give for trainers today then? You've seen a lot in your time, and you're now, you've got the benefit of experience and wisdom, and you probably, like in this gym, there's a lot of young people coming in. So what would you say to them in terms of where they should be focusing on, what the lessons that they could learn if you were to come into this space again at a young age?
What I do is when people come to me, I'll reach out, because I'm a master, and it's just like in martial arts. If you're a master, you go to the master, you go, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to learn the right way. I don't want to learn the wrong way. And I'll grab people that look serious. I go, do you really want to master this? Do you really want this as a career? This is not something just to fill your pocket for a week or two or three. I said, these are people's dreams. I said, so don't look at it as a paycheck. I said, being a trainer is a serious thing to me. I said, so if you come to me, it's a serious thing, because you come to me and say, Danny, I want to lose fat. I want to put muscle on. I want to feel better. I want to look better. And you're going to pay me $95, $120 an hour. I go, I'm going to take that serious. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be, carousing around the gym talking about everybody. I grab these people and I teach them from the foundation. I said, look, you're going to follow me. You're going to shadow me. You're not going to train anybody for a while. It's like and I'll pay you, as I say, go train this person for me now. And that's about 3 or 4 weeks in. And I'll have them start with the plyometric, the activation. I said, look, I'm going to teach you the right way from the start. Don't listen to the internet. Don't listen to the muscle fitness magazines. I said, I've done all that. I've read all that and go, oh my God. And then the guys go, don't follow that. That's pre-contest training. That's just hoo-ha. You have to stick with the foundation exercises and do them right, and do it over and over and over again. I said, I've been doing this for 44 years, and guess how many times I've changed my workout? None. It's the same exercises over and over and over again. It's like building a house. How do you build a house? You scrape the land, you dig the trenches, you put the pipe in it. It's the same way when you build a house foundation. It's the same structure over and over and over again. Now you change the little things for decoration, as we do. You need a little bit more shoulder. You need a little bit of this. You need a little of that. Let's do different exercises to make that muscle come out. So I teach them foundational exercises forever. These people could go away from you and keep doing these exercises and they'll stay fit. And I tell everybody that I train, I go, I could leave this earth right now and you'll know exactly what to do to stay exactly where you're at. If you eat like I tell you and you keep doing these exercises, your body will stay that way. So these young kids, they come in, whether they're from LA Fitness or somewhere else or from Charlotte Russe. I said, all of a sudden I want to be a trainer. I go, okay, you have to go through workouts with me and actually feel this. You have to feel it and know what it feels like when you're actually showing somebody how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do that exercise correctly, and then I'm going to teach you combination exercises, how to effectively hit that muscle to make it work and look the way you want it to look. So it's going to take a while. I've got 44 years of experience. I got a treasure trove of stuff to grab through. So I could walk through the gym. That's being used. That's being used. Let's go over here. Let's do a push-up, or let's do a swing rotation with this dumbbell or with a cable. Same thing that this does. But back in the day, we didn't have all these machines.
No.
We did not have. We had. I trained at Leo Stern's gym. 1,100 square feet of barbells, dumbbells, makeshift cables, a flat bench like this with bolts on the side for a leg extension and a leg curl. I mean, if you would have seen it, you would laugh. You went, you guys got big with this? Yes, we had some of the biggest champions you've ever seen in your life. Vince's gym, if you look at it, you go, he's got pipes coming out of like you go to Home Depot, he's got pipes coming out of the wall into the floor with a track on it, and there's your hack squat. You know, and everything he had made by somebody. Mm-hmm. And you look at the gym and go, this looks like a dinosaur, you know, from the dinosaur age. But he knew how to manipulate the body to make it work. It's not the machine, it's not the cables, it's you actually tensing it like isometrics, but now holding a weight in your hand. So, yeah.
Do you think there's a place for more trainers that, I guess, more mature trainers that understand? Because there's a lot, I suppose now, my feeling is like 50 is like, you know, the new 30 almost. Mm-hmm. You don't, I think when I used to think of someone in 50, they were like old and past it. Now I kind of feel like hanging around with people in the 20s. And I guess a lot of people, as they get older, want to still look like they did in their 20s and 30s. But in my guess, it's probably difficult for someone who is a lot younger in their 20s to kind of understand what you're going through, number one, and to how to get some of those results. So is that an area, one, you focus on, and two, do you think there's an opportunity for probably maybe more people that are a little bit older to look at this as a career, to say, well, look, actually, I think I can do a pretty good job targeting at that market?
Oh yeah. You could definitely pick and choose your target. Like I have a gentleman that's 6'5", 385 pounds, ex-NFL, and that I train. I'm training for jiu-jitsu championships, but he played for the NFL. And there's a certain way to train him. There's a certain way to train my 80-year-old that comes in, but she's a beast. So she trains like a lot of my bikini athletes, but less weight. You know, it's you fundamentally have to start with nothing and see where they're at. And it doesn't matter for me. It's like my curriculum is the same across the board. Doesn't matter if you're 98 or 18. It's just less weight, slower reps, and let me know when it hurts. And I always is it okay if I touch your shoulders? Yes. Is it okay if I touch your arm? Yes. I said, this is where this exercise is affecting you, right there. I said, guess what that just did? Mind the muscle. That mind the muscle connection, when you're doing that now, you know it's working that top of your bicep or the front of your here. So I always go right there. Feel it right there, contract, feel it. And it doesn't matter if it's a 2.5-pound dumbbell. And these older people, I had a 98-year-old guy in Fallbrook, and he won 3 consecutive senior Olympics, gold medal. Same thing, almost like no weight, but everything he did was slow and meticulous, and I was worried about his joints and everything else because he looked frail, but he was a beast, you know, but I had to maintain him in that realm. But change of exercise? No, it's the same thing over and over again, but you got to know what you're doing. But you're saying, yes, I would say, you like sports? Train sports. You like training for competition? Train for competition. You like training for, speed, agility, this, that, or the other? Train for that and become a master at that. But then you could also gravitate and move that over by having somebody like myself or another master go learn everything. So you could take care of, so you're not just locked into here, but you have the spectrum to move over and train the dancer, that wants to enter a bikini contest or hurt herself, learn rehabilitation, learn this. But yes, you could start on a focused, narrow, training, curriculum.
What is one of your proudest moments of your career, would you say?
I think it's Don Luigi, and and that's why I tell you, emotional hit. He walked into the gym one day, and I was out to lunch, and he was sitting right in front of me over here, just like this with his hands on his knees, and I look at him, he looked gray. And I walked in, I said, yeah, can I help you, sir? It's like, are you okay? He goes, I need help. I just need help. I said, has anybody talked to you? How long you been here? He goes, 20 minutes. I go, there's 15 trainers in there. Has anybody? He goes, no. I asked for help, and they said, no, because he was 450 pounds. And he goes, I just need help. And I said, tell me. And I sat down with him. I said, here, come in the back, and their little patio. I said, tell me your story. And he said, I walked out on my front door, and I walked down because my dog got out. He goes, I couldn't even get my dog. I had to stop, and I couldn't even breathe. And it's just like I was just started crying. He goes, I got back out to my house and sat there and I go, what am I doing? What have I done to myself? I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, if you don't do something, you're not going to be here in the next 9 months or a year. You're not going to see your grandkids grow up. You're not going to see their kids grow up and their kids grow up. He goes, is that what you want? I mean, you're 42 years old. And he was a security guard at one of the casinos out here. And I said, I'll take you on. I said, is this something you truly want? Do you really want to change your life? I said, that's your grasp. That's your carrot. Watching your kids grow up, being healthy, being able to run with them, doing all this stuff. And I said, let's go to your house. I said, get in my car, let's go. Let me look at your food. Let me see what you're eating, And I said, all out. You're going to start fresh. Let's go to the grocery store. So we revamped his whole house with fresh. I said, this is what you're going to eat. I said, before you come to see me, I want you to get around that block, and then get around that block, and then get around that block. Until you get that 4 times around that block, then I want you to drive to me and say you made it. He said it took him almost a month to do that because he didn't have the breath. Finally, he goes, I'm going to try to make it to the gym, which was a mile up. So he walked, and it took him 2 hours. But he walked to the gym, he got there, and he was huffing and puffing and panting. He goes, I made it. I said, good. I said, we're going to go through a little preliminary stuff. And it was just little step ups and little things. I trained that man for 11 and a half months, and he lost 101 pounds. Got off most of his medication. We became very, very good friends. And he started talking to local kids around going, I could help you. This man has helped me. I'm going to help you. And he got to the point on 1.4 years with me that he was challenging all my athletes to step ups and doing the stair climber, like doing 50, get on the stair climber for 3 minutes, going as on the highest level, get back down, step ups, and nobody could keep up with him. He ended up losing 187 pounds. He sold his house, moved up to Oregon, bought this big ranch where he could run around all the time. He continued losing a pound. He says, Danny, I'm going to open a gym. I got a big barn here. I'm going to open up. I'm going to help local kids. And then to this day now, he's changing lives.
Wow. Up
there. And, it's like I could talk about all my athletes and all the accolades, I said, but changing that one guy's life to where the doctor said, you're off cholesterol medication, you're off blood thinners, you're off this, the doctor asked him, how did you do this? He goes, fitness, nutrition, right there. And he goes, really? He goes, I need to talk to this guy. Because they don't teach doctors anything. I think they got like 20 hours of nutrition in their whole, I think that's what it is. And they have no idea about even exercise unless, they take it upon themselves to exercise. They know the feeling. But that guy's impact on my life, I was like going, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's changing lives through fitness, not for the muscles like that I had, but it's just like I've seen so much stuff change in people's lives and the life betterment that it's brought to them, the stars in their eyes when I see them like this, whether on stage or my vice president of Paula Casino lose from size 18 to a size 2. When she goes, I went to get a new suit and I thought it was a 6 and it ended up being a 2. Tears. And I'm like going, wow, the impact I could have on people's lives. I go, that's what I try to teach these youngsters in here. I go, it's not about everything you see here. It's beyond that. It's that person right there. That person and your impact with their lives. And they could be with you for, my clients I would have for 6, 7, 8 years, and they follow me. I don't care if it's 40 miles or 40, 50 minutes, an hour and a half, they'll drive. He said, because you listen to me. You actually care. You actually know my dog's name. You know my kid's name. You know my husband's name. It's impact. We have an impact in fitness that changes lives. And I think that's my number one passion.
And that's going back to the first question. I guess that's what's kept you doing it for over 40 years.
Yeah. Changing lives. I was actually writing it the other day. I said, I could write all these beautiful ads. I could do all this stuff. And I go, but changing lives is the number one thing that keeps coming around. So it's like, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny, for changing my life. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to live again the right way. This is how we're supposed to be living, not buckle down. And thank you for telling me about the hormone doctor, and thank you for changing my nutrition. Thank you for educating me on the fundamentals of fitness, health, and exercise. So I'm like, this is what God put me here on earth for this. This is my calling. Yeah, that's what I really believe. That's my calling.
Last question then, Danny. Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've believed is impossible and gone on to make it possible. What would be a memorable experience of escaping your own personal limits?
Escaping my own personal limits? Pushing beyond. I tell people, it's like, I'm going to be 102. And because I physically see that in my mind. And I really believe if you could see it, you could do it. And that's what fitness has done to me. Escaping your limits. Don't have any limits. Be unlimited. Just open up your spectrum. A gentleman taught me that a long time ago. He was a hypnotist, and he said, "See it, do it. Believe that you've done it already. Taste it, feel it in your hands." And I did miraculous things in weight and repetitions just by seeing myself do it, and where I would already forecast my thoughts. I talked to Tony Robbins about this. He goes, it's incredible when your mind does it first, your body will follow. So don't put limitations on yourself. Go. You could do this for the rest of your life. They'll probably find you with a dumbbell in your hand, Danny, at the end of the time. So limits, I've never put limits on myself, and I try to open up that channel in people's head and go, it's possible. Just because it's not there now doesn't mean it can't be there. If I could plant it in my head and I know I'm going to pick that up, I'm going to do that rep, or I'm going to build this thing, I see it before it actually happens, and it does. So limitations, escape my limits. I don't know, maybe get on stage again someday at 72, but yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I think we're going to go off and have a workout now to put some of your ideas into practice.
Beautiful. I'd love this shit.
Thank you, Danny.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.